All right, tribe. I know each and every one of you, and I do as well want to drive it farther, longer, straighter. And I've got the guy on for you. There he is. It's Lance, Reader Lance from Krank Golf. Welcome to the On the podcast.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Glad to be on.
You know what? I'm like a kid. And I'll tell you why, because all of us golfers, when we get to the pro shop, you pick up a club, you're like, oh, that looks good, or that doesn't look good. And I'll be completely honest with you. I'm in golf, I call golf, I teach golf, I do it all. But until you guys reached out to me, I sort of knew about Krank Golf, and then I started to really pay attention. And I started reading more and more and more. And it turns out that what I thought was a fringe organization is not necessarily so. You guys are dominant. So tell us about you, your inspiration, how you came to where you are, and about Krank Golf, please.
Well, let's see. It's been 22 years. Originally, I kind of got into the world of long drive. I was interested in seeing how far I could hit the ball. Like most long drivers start, they're the longest hitter in their group, and they want to see if they're really long. Okay. And that was about 23 years ago. And just started competing in the world of long drive and realizing that very few people in the world of long drive were using the major manufacturers. They were using names like Zyder and Bang and Alpha and Integra. These are the component companies back in the day, right? That they were the first companies that were making these larger 400 plus cc heads. I mean, back when Callaway, Tammy, Tyson, Ping, they were still making 300 cc maximum heads, where you were getting Integras, and Bang's making 450 cc. And man, there's where the spring effect happened. And so in the world of long drive, very few people ever used a major manufacturer. So we would go out, and it was such a unique time. The biggest problem that we had in world of long drive back then was every head broke, and they broke quickly. And so all these small companies were making these remarkable drivers. And I thought, well, this could be a fun hobby. I'll go try to make one myself. And I met some cool people that hooked me up with really quite a remarkable boutique factory in China. And we went in and started working and learning and having fun and developing drivers that didn't break. The number one goal. Let's see if we can make one that doesn't break, and let's see if it hits.
All right.
Because, I'm no engineer. I didn't know how to do it. I just kind of, did my thing. And we made the El Diablo driver, which really was, at the time, I think it had to be the longest hitting driver in the world. It won 5 world championships. It was indestructible. It hardly ever broke. And that was the beginning of Krank. And 17 drivers later, 22 years later, we have the Fire driver, which is really the best driver that we've ever made. We still support the world of long drive golf. We've won 36 world long drive championships, but we've always had a playing driver. And now, with a lot of the crazy that's been going on the last 11 months with Bryson DeChambeau, Krank is really making a big headway into the pro golf and regular golf line, which we've always made that, but now we get more recognition for that.
Yeah, because, for folks, if you go and look at Krank, KRANK golf.com, you guys got fairway woods and such as well. Now
we do, and we make drivers and fairway woods. That's our game.
Mm-hmm. To Bryson, look, he is a tough customer. He has standards, and as far as Bryson's concerned, if it goes crooked, it's normally not him, and you know that very well. I know him well. And he's pretty hard on club companies. So to get the ringing endorsements that you are from one Bryson DeChambeau says a whole heck of a lot to what you guys are doing, man.
Well, and thank you. I appreciate that. And I tell everybody the toughest drivers you'll ever make are for world long drive.
Okay.
Because, you've got the Berkshires and the Borgmeyers and the Tim Burks and the Justin James, the guys that are swinging 150 to 160. Really, Krank is the only company in the world that has ever effectively made that driver. And when you can make that driver, I believe you can make any driver. Okay. And so when Bryson, even though he's super particular about what he wants, you know why? Because he's so remarkable. He feels the smallest changes in the face of a driver, whereas most people wouldn't feel that change at all because their swing isn't good enough to recognize it. With him, he wants something very, very specific, and it happens to be what we've been making for many, many years.
Mhm.
And so it gives him more curvature in the face called bulge and roll,
Yeah.
and it allows him to hit straighter. And our face durability is significantly better than anybody else's because our metal is significantly harder, and our manufacturing style is cup facing rather than cast insert facing, which is a much softer metal.
Hold that thought. Cup facing.
Oh,
We'll talk about that. I gotta ask. I mean, look, Bryson had a little foray in long driving. He and Martin Borgmeyer are filming stuff together all of the time. He and Kyle Berkshire. He actually said to me he learned more about driving the ball long from Kyle Berkshire than anybody else because he figured he'd just get bigger and heavier and more mass and just swing harder. And then he learned about efficiency from Kyle. Um, how did you guys connect? How did he come upon Krank?
his coach, Mike Shy,
Right?
that kind of like his second father growing up, reached out to me and said, 11 months ago, said, Bryson would like to try a crank driver. And I said, great, put him on the phone. I'd like to talk to him. And I'd seen him in World Long Drive. Um, and what he did there was remarkable. Took second in the World Championship. No other professional golfer on the planet, in my opinion, could have done that. Which gave him tons of credibility in my eyes because he's not just powerful, he's unbelievably straight with perfect spin rates, stuff you don't normally see in
It's
World Long
crazy.
Drive.
Yes, crazy accurate. I
And
remember,
so
I
it
remember
was it
sorry,
was
I remember
amazing.
calling a young Bryson DeChambeau when he came out, and he was like the one playing golf machine guy. And then he went, I called his victory in Vegas. And that's when he signaled to us, he goes, when you next see me, I'm going to be a different guy. And I was
Yeah,
like, okay, I've heard this before. And then he
yeah,
truly was a different guy. And when I
yeah.
saw him play the first time, he was stupidly accurate for as hard as what he was hitting it.
It's really amazing. I mean, if you would have actually said, and they'll never get full documentation of what he did at the World Long Drive Championship when he took second. I mean, he lost to Borgmeyer. Borgmeyer was much faster than Bryson, but Bryson's spin rates and directional control was so significantly better than everybody else in the entire field that it was laughable.
Yeah.
We had never had a World Long Drive guy do that. And so I had a lot of respect for him. So when Mike Shy called and put him on the phone, and I said, here's the deal. I'm going to send you some heads. We make our heads differently. Um, I think they're the straightest hitting heads in the entire world, not just the longest.
Mhm.
And so he called me back the next day and said, okay, um, this is crazy, but I need to know why your heads curve 60% less than any other head that I've ever tested. And he goes, it's not okay that it's doing it. I need to know why it's doing it.
Okay.
And I said, because of these reasons. And we've been doing it for a long time, but you never really get the recognition. The majors are so big and powerful and they dominate the market at such a high level that even though we could win all these World Long Drive Championships from 70-year-olds to 18-year-olds, it's not a big enough market. For some reason, golfers don't look at long drivers as being golfers, even though they're hitting drivers. But it was fun for him to actually recognize something that was super critical, and that is how accurate our drivers are. We're not just crazy long.
Mhm.
And and so he loved him. He said, I'm going to play him until I choose not to.
And he's still using
Let's
them.
just have this cool relationship that's no contracts, no money, no anything. I'll keep playing him as long as I want to play him. And I said, great, sounds good to me. And 10 days later, he shoots 58 and then wins and then wins. I mean, remember, he hasn't won in like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And he just starts winning and winning and playing and incredible. Then he goes and wins the US Open, which is even more incredible. Um, you know, it's been a great year for Crank, and it's been a great year for Bryson DeChambeau.
Well, look, like I said at the bounce here, everybody at that level, at the elite professional level on the PGA Tour and elsewhere, they are sticklers about equipment. And
Oh, yeah.
you know, you guys didn't accidentally fall into this sort of place. He would not be using the stuff for that sort of success under that sort of pressure, if the equipment wasn't good. So it's with that said, um, I'm sure there are thousands of questions. I've got all sorts because like I want to try
It's a
one.
really unique situation. I
No,
know.
but first off, you talked about the cup face technology because bulge and roll was standard. So describe what sets the crank driver apart, because you said, look, the faces are strong, they're made for long driving. But for your lay golfer who's watching this now going, yeah, I want to get one. I want to hit the thing 15, 10 yards farther.
Right.
What separates the driver head?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like I can show you. I mean, if you want to, this, we're not, what you're seeing with Callaway, Taylor, Metalis, and Ping and all the majors, virtually every driver company, is that they've always cast, they poured metal in a mold, and the face has an insert piece in it. And now they're making carbon bodies, the 360 carbon bodies, the carbon lined faces, all this stuff. And we don't do any of that. We stay with the best materials in the world. We have the highest grade titaniums, the beta titaniums, and we stamp pieces and weld them together. We don't pour metal. We don't use plastic carbon glue. We don't glue pieces together. We weld pieces together. I'm a huge believer in energy storage. So when the ball hits the face, we want the body to be super rigid and force the energy back to the ball quickly. And that does not happen with carbon. It just doesn't. Carbon is for weight, and for cost of manufacturing gets a lot less than titanium.
Yeah.
But for us, we stay with it. We know what works for us, but like a cup face would be something like this. So you can see like this is an older model, but you can kind of see how the cup face and how it's welded to the body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So we don't have any insert piece in the middle of the face. We're
Okay.
a full cup. This is a very, very hard beta titanium that we dual heat treat and we quench differently than anybody. Our metals are incredibly thin and incredibly durable. So when we have this bulge and roll that you see in the face, how it's kind of curved,
Yeah.
it holds its curve. That's the big secret to Krank, is that we're thinner than everybody else, we're harder than everybody else, we're more durable than everybody else, and our face doesn't move and flatten as you hit it. And so it gives us opportunities to do things differently.
Yeah.
And so, that's just a basic manufacturing thing. But for us to have the durability that we need for World Long Drive and the fastest guys, we have to build it that way. We just learned that there's no other way to do it. And now that we've created a driver that can handle a guy swinging 160 miles an hour, it's much easier for us to create a driver that handles very slow swing speeds, because all we have to do is continue to thin the face to match the swing speed to the face thickness, which is really what we're doing the most of now. Not only is our manufacturing style different, we're really the only company in the world making 3 different face thicknesses, which is a whole nother subject, but it's super, super cool that we build normal face thickness, a medium face thickness, and a super thin face thickness for very slow swing speeds. And that's a total game changer for the very slow swing speeds. So I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but there's a lot to Krank. It's a heck of a lot more than somebody that swings fast.
Yeah. First off, for the folks who are listening only on audio, you need to get to YouTube and check this out, because what Lance did was he had a driver head that was still in production, basically with the top of it cut off, and you could see the insides of the driver head, and you can also see. I was struck at the thickness of that face, and there was no
Yeah.
insert built in. Um,
Yeah.
I you touched on it with a face thickness, because naturally the thinner the face, the more spring there is going to be off the face for the slower speed golfer. Am I correct in my assumptions there? And I want you to talk
You
about.
are. You're very correct. It's like we've been dealing with this for a long time. About 7 years ago, I was sitting at my desk and I was like, I make my long drive head just a little thicker in the face than I do my normal playing driver. So my 4, 5, 6 degree long drive version is a little bit thicker than my playing version, which is the 7, 5, 9, and 10, 5 degree, right?
All right.
And I thought, well, they're both conforming. They're both on the USGA conforming list. But I got a bunch of buddies that have lost so much distance, and they've really only lost a little bit, right?
Yeah,
I mean, think about
I'm
it.
buddy too. Yeah.
I mean, these guys are like, it's 5 years ago, I was hitting 290 all day, and now I'm doing good to hit 225. What happened? I don't feel like I'm that much slower.
Mm-hmm.
What people don't realize is that when you have the ability to hit something 290 or 300, you get a significant amount of trampoline effect out of the face of that driver.
Right.
And when you slow down just a little, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 miles an hour swing speed, that trampoline effect virtually goes away.
Really?
Why? Because the drivers that are made today are rated for the maximum spring effect at around 115 swing speed.
All right.
Well, if you're swinging 90,
Yeah.
you're losing 70% of the spring effect. So you're not just losing distance because you're not swinging harder, you're losing the extra bonus, which is called trampoline effect, that the faster swingers enjoy. And I say it like this. If maximum core, if you follow core at all, COR,
Yeah.
is 0.83 by the USG, to get 0.83 out of a driver that's on the USJ conforming list, you have to swing at least 115 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
My wife swings 67. So if she's hitting that same driver,
She's it's doing nothing.
she's nothing. She's getting 0.1. So why is it fair that John Rahm hitting Callaway gets 0.83 swinging 115, 120, but if my wife hits that same driver, she gets 0.1? It's not fair. We have the technology to give everyone 0.83.
Yeah.
And we are doing it today.
Well,
We
look,
have been for the last 7 years.
that is the beauty of it. And look, this is an entirely bigger conversation about bifurcation and stuff, because everyone's like, well, I want to hit the ball that the pros use. I'm like, sorry, you don't hit the thing hard enough to keep it in the air. You need a more spinning golf ball. And then just with your driver head with extra spring, I mean, this sounds like it's a match made in heaven for most golfers.
Well, and this is really the crazy part, what people don't understand. I mean, I was a world long drive guy. I could at one point swing 150. I still swing about 130 and I'm 61 years old. So I move it still.
Mm-hmm.
But if I hit my thinnest face driver, if anybody that swings above 115 hits our thinnest face driver, they're going to hit it 30 yards shorter than the normal face thickness that's meant for their swing speed. So we're not trying to take the guys that are hitting at 320 and getting them 420. There's no way to do that. By making a thinner face driver, it's really rated and has to be sold to the people that meet that swing speed range, which is our thinnest face is under 85 miles an hour. Right. And then our middle face thickness is 85 to 105, and our normal face thickness is 105 and up. So we're not making 27 different face thicknesses here. We're making 3. We're being manageable here. And it's 20 to 40 yards longer, depending on roll.
It makes so much sense, because the reason why I aligned myself with Bridgestone golf balls was for that very reason, because they make a golf ball to fit the swing speed.
Well, why do they have to do that? Think about what they're doing by doing that. They make a golf ball that has more compression, or it is softer, because they know you're getting nothing out of the face.
Yeah.
If you can't get it out of the face, you got to get it from somewhere. And they give it to you out of the ball. So they're admitting you're never going to get anything out of the face by even making the ball available. That's my opinion. It's not my opinion, it's fact. But the truth is, once a person goes into the super thin face, they need to harden the ball back up into the normal range.
You know what? That's crazy too, because every golfer watching this, even the elite golfers, there's certain things that are doing the rounds on the internet. And compression is one of those sort of biblical words that everyone's striving for. Don't flip, you must, rotate and compress the golf ball. I was like, yeah, but it's just dawned on me after you mentioned this, that you can get compression from the face of the club and not just by using a different golf ball.
I mean, I tell everybody, I don't know what terminology people wake up to, what is their epiphany. I mean, we matched driver face flex to their shaft flex. So we shouldn't force a senior flex shaft hitter to hit an extra stiff face. But if they hit any driver on the market today, that driver is rated as an extra stiff face.
And the companies, I'm guessing, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going where angels fear to tread, and I'm a golf teacher, and I know. And I'm guessing companies are doing this to have less drivers sent back to them because of the faces they've given in after lots of hitting or practice or using range balls and such. Am I wrong, or is that just a crazy assumption?
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 things to consider here, and that's a really good question. Because our metal is so much more durable than everybody else's, and that's not just me saying it. Okay, I'm able to go super thin. Like an example, A normal face thickness is 3.8 to 4 millimeters thick for virtually every driver in the market. But our normal conforming driver is 2.7 millimeters thick. How do we get away with that? Because our metal is so much harder, our cup facing is so much more durable, we have all that perimeter support, we're able to do things that are different. And we have a little more curve in the face, which gives more structural support. So my normal face thickness is 2.7, everybody else is 3.8 or 4. Then my middle face thickness I take down to 1.9, and my thinnest face is 1.4 millimeters thick. Think about how freaking thin that is. And the durability of that in the swing speed range it's made for is perfect.
You talked about it too. You said there's a bit more curvature in the face.
Right.
I'm guessing, and this might have answered Bryson's question. That's why the club is more accurate, because the gear effect is a little more better. It's better than the competition. Yes.
It is. I mean, it reduces curve, but it also if you really think about it, if you hit the ball in the center of the face all day long, you're going to do pretty good. But
Yeah.
no one does that.
No.
Not even Bryson. So the goal here is when you actually hit a toe shot, that it throws the ball a little more right so that it can come back to the middle.
Yeah.
What happens is if the face is really flat, like let's say an example, my bulge and roll of my normal Fire Pro driver is around 9 degrees of bulge and roll. Callaway, TaylorMade, Titleist, Ping, they start at 11 or 12.
Okay.
Much flatter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's less of that curve so that when you hit a ball off the toe, it just goes.
Yeah.
Rather than pushing it right to bring it to the middle, it just overhooks, overcuts. So we cut less, we hook less. I've had some PGA pros. I had one guy, I won't say his name, that I'm still hoping to get hit crank at some point, told me, he goes, your driver just simply hits too straight. I've got it in a text and I won't share it, but I'm laughing, so I call him. I go, seriously, do you understand how crazy that sounds? He goes, man, I know, but I just kind of like working the ball. I can still work it, but he goes, I'm not used to it yet. But he goes, the one thing I can tell you is that it's the straightest hitting driver I've ever hit, but it's so straight that there's very little curve. And I'm like, thank you. That's what I need. That's what I want.
Okay, on the Mark listeners, don't switch off now and just start going to Krank Golf, because there's one or two more things. Okay, I'm assuming the same technology is applicable for the fairway metals as well. And then as a follow-up to that question, because you talked about matching the shaft flex with a face flex and stuff like that. Now golfers, because I know I'm hooked. I mean, I want to get a Krank driver now.
I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's gonna out hit what you're hitting now. It absolutely will. What's your swing speed?
Oh goodness, I get outdriven by my daughter. She's about 103 or 4, I would say. When I run up to one, I get it to about 102. Now I'm old and decrepit.
Okay, so you're our middle face thickness, and you will hit it with no roll 20 yards, with some roll up to 40, more than what you're hitting now.
Right. Okay. I believe you. Everything.
You will.
I mean, it makes sense with my golf teaching brain and everything you've talked about, the makeup of the head. And I love the way that it's personalized as well. So it's with that I want to say, like, okay, our fans, viewers, listeners go to Krank Golf, and now how do they go about figuring out what works for them? Is there like a fitting tool, or do they go somewhere to test? How does that process work for people?
You know, because we're mainly online, I mean, we had to choose our business model way back, and we're really mainly online in the US and Canada, and then we have distributors around the world. But you go to our website, and we have an automated driver selector tool that you click on. It takes you through, it has a video that talks about why we make multiple face thickness. If you want to watch it, fine. If not, skip it, and then put in your information, and it'll pick out your driver for you. And it is very accurate. It'll determine, are you the Fire XX, the thinnest face, or the Fire X, or the Fire Pro? And it'll pick your loft, your flex, your length, your everything, put it in the shopping cart, and you're ready to go.
Does it are the shafts adjustable? You know, you can screw shafts in and out of heads.
Yeah, we're fully adjustable. Fujikura does all of our shafts. We have the Speeder X Tour and Light Tour version, but again, it'll pick it for you. You can always change it if you want, but it's fully adjustable. You know, you can get a different length, but, you know, standard length for a driver for most men is 45 and a half, and women are 44 and a half. So you can do anything you want, but we want to help people. We don't want a guy swinging 120 to buy the Fire Double X. It'll hit shorter, he'll flatten the face and ruin it.
Yeah.
There's no point in buying it. And we say that very clearly.
Hey, I'm glad you said what you did there because, with the advent of speed in our game, it's like you guys have been around for 20 plus years. And now it's like people are discovering you because
Right.
it's all about speed in the game right now, from the highest level to the beginner level. And
Right.
everyone's talking about the golf ball and such, but the implement you're hitting it with has a big say so. Um, and I find so many club golfers are going longer with a shaft to create a wider arc. But yeah, they'll get some more speed, but they are littering golf courses with crooked golf shots because the shaft is just too long. And I like the fact that you say just go with your regular 45 and put the proper head in there and you're on your way.
Come on, I mean, think about it. I mean, back before we were really pushing multiple face thickness, there was only two ways to increase distance, and one was to increase shaft length,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and the other was to increase swing speed. And as you get older, the swing speed increase isn't really an option in general, right? For most people, they can go to the gym, and we recommend everybody staying fit and using golf as a motivator to stay healthy,
Yeah.
but it's not realistic. And so the real simple truth is I am not giving slow swing speeds more spring effect than fast swing speeds get. I'm giving them the same. You could argue that my thinnest face driver is not high core at all. It's just fair core. And so we need to stop saying high core, because I don't sell a driver to a person that swings super fast that's above core. I give them, remember, people will call and say, what's the core of your driver? And I'll say, what's your swing speed?
Yeah.
And they go, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'd say, well, because no one wants to talk about this. Nobody, not one manufacturer, the USGA, no one wants to talk about the fact that core is relative to swing speed, and it is rated in that 115 swing speed to maximize core. That's crazy if you really think about it.
Look, I'm pedantic. I'm militant about people understanding information. It's just a bugaboo of mine, and I want to make sure the listeners and viewers get it. When Lance is talking about core, folks, it's the coefficient of restitution. It's how the ball comes off the club face, and there's a measurement that that you gave. It was 0.83, but that's
Correct.
measured for a 115-mile-an-hour swing speed. So
Yeah.
you're right. It is almost an arbitrary number that is not applicable to 97-8% of the world's golfers.
Well, I mean, think about it. 99% of all golfers swing under 105.
Yeah.
So every single driver on the market today is rated for the less than 1%.
That makes sense.
Are people making you hit an extra stiff shaft? No, but they're making you hit an extra stiff face. Well, that's not fair. That shouldn't continue. We should make it completely fair for everybody. We've already proven we can do it. We do it now. We've been doing it for 7 years. Now, Bryson doesn't hit a double X. Why? He swings 130. So he hits the driver face that's rated for him.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned why, something about what the majors are doing when it comes to spring effect. Are they doing it for durability or whatever? They're doing it a lot for USGA conformity, for one thing. And how do you control, like with us, we control fast swing speeds from buying our thin face drivers. Very easy. If the face flattens past 14, they void their warranty.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Simple. So it doesn't happen very much, but somebody will send in a driver and it's like broken or something, the double X, and it'll be at 16, so it's super flat, right?
Yeah.
Well, scientifically, the face of the double X driver can't go above 12. So if it's above 14, I know that they handed it to their grandson or did something to it.
Yeah.
So we'll call them and say, you voided your warranty by flattening it, but we'll probably take care of it anyway, but we just need you to be honest. Did you hand this? Because scientifically we want to know,
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's the
No,
majors do what they do because they don't want breakage, they don't want flattening, and they already have a ton of it.
As I listen to you, I'm fascinated, I'm amused, I'm entertained. I'm thinking, why the hell haven't I got one of these yet? But I'm hearing in my head that folks are listening. If you're in the car, people, don't do this, please. Don't go on your phone or your computer, start searching for stuff. Do it in a safe place. But I can hear people on the keyboards looking right now, because if you, any golfer at any level, it would make no sense whatsoever that you don't try this, even just try this, and then you'll become a believer because the club will prove it to itself. Because again, I know Bryson, and I know can be prickly when it comes to equipment, and if he's
He
believing,
is super picky. But you know what? Honestly, it's basic science ABC. This is not some magical thing. It really isn't. It's making good common sense of trampoline effect off the face of a driver. That's all it is. And because of our manufacturing style, we're able to do it. We could not do it if we were doing carbon bodies.
Awesome. Okay, one more question. There's some fantastic blogs on the website, folks, and we've sort of touched on them also. But there was one that I thought was fascinating, and I want you to elaborate, please, because people are going to get their crank driver and they're going to go out there and just start wailing away and hopefully getting getting higher numbers. But you talked about why you should take notice of shot dispersion, and I'm putting in brackets, not just the distance. And
Right.
I saw this. I'm like, I almost said a prayer for you of thanks, because most folks, it's speed. Yeah, you're going faster now. Can the guys go test it? Like, your speed's gone up from 100 to 106. Off you go. Have a happy life. Then the next time these people are hitting it all over the show, you got to talk about dispersion as well. So please elaborate there.
I think dispersion, and I think it's really, really interesting because so many swings are so different. Like I say to people, they want to be fitted to a driver. I says, so which swing did you want to be fitted to? So let's be honest. Most guys that are 10, 15, 20, let's say 20 handicappers, I mean, how often do they swing the same? And hitting in a box in a simulator, is that the same as standing on a tee box hitting one ball? Standing on a range hitting two buckets of ball? What does that have to do with one ball on a tee box with your buddies watching? So, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone has to find what is a comfortable, repeatable swing speed that they can repeat. And they need to be hitting the proper face thickness and trampoline effect so they don't feel like they have to be stepping on it all the time. And it's not always about saying, can I swing faster?
Yeah.
You know what? If your natural swing speed and your body type and your age and your flexibility and your fitness is 100 miles an hour, that you can repeat that, get the proper face thickness, hit your 250 or 60 yards, play from the right tee box, maximize your trampoline effect off the face of the driver, and work on the rest of your game. Because because accuracy will never happen at overswinging, ever.
No.
Bryson, think about it. He's ridiculously straight for how fast he is, but he's an anomaly. I'm out with him at a lot of these events, and I'm walking with him on the pro-ams and the preliminary days and seeing and who he's playing with. He's so unique in how freaking straight he hits the ball for how hard he hits it. But just because people want to hit it further doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make their game. And I always say sometimes distance is overrated. Only reason distance is overrated is because it completely buries your accuracy. And so let's play from fairways. Let's stay within your swing profile that you can repeat, and let's get the proper face trampoline effect for your swing speed and go enjoy the game better. That's
God bless you. You're the founder of a company that builds drivers that go longer, and you're telling folks that, hey, play from the fairway. That reminds me of a quip that was made on this very show by Brendan Todd. And he chased power distance for a while, and his game went in the tank. Then he went back to what he does and played from the fairway, and he won a few times again. And he said to me, I'll never forget it. He goes, distance is a luxury, accuracy wins tournaments. And, and for every golfer watching this, that should be your mantra. Heck yes, we want to go a little further down the fairway because we're going to get a shorter club, and so you improve your chances of making a lower score. But if you're hitting it far into the woods, you're not going to make lower numbers, and that's what we're all about.
Yeah, and I honestly think, I mean, watching what I've been through, which has been such a incredible privilege for the last 11 months, it really does put into place how the importance of distance. But I always say your driver determines how high you score, your putter and wedge determine how low you score.
Yeah, I love it.
And your driver will ruin your game quickly if you cannot play a functional shot off the tee box. So we don't really push increasing swing speed. What we push is increasing proper trampoline effect and learning how to repeat your driver swing, which is your toughest club in your bag to hit straight.
Hmm.
Period.
Do me a favor, because I was listening and I was wanting to write it down. That little quote that you just shared about the driver and the putter, please mention that again.
That your driver determines how high you score,
Yeah,
and your putter and wedge determine how low you score.
love it. Okay.
It's critical.
Yeah, well, look, it's the truth. This is absolute gospel truth. Now, everyone's like, okay, cool. Why don't we have one yet? So, with that being said, direct folks, tell people where they can go to follow you on social media. What's the website? And then just give them a brief sort of tutorial, because I'm certain people are going to be looking into this now.
Wonderful. And again, I appreciate you having me on. Krankgolf.com is our website with a K, K-R-A-N-K golf.com. You can go on there. There's a ton of information on it. I suggest going through our driver selector tool, which is right on the front page. If you click on the top banner, it'll take you right into it.
Yeah.
I recommend you watch the video. It's a very short video, but it explains trampoline effect and the importance of it. And then go through the driver selector tool, and it'll pick your driver for you. If you want to change it, you can. But you know, take the driver that's rated for you and go get familiar hitting it and enjoy the game more. That's really what it's about. We need this multiple phase thickness driver spring effect connecting to your swing speed needs to be, in my opinion, the number one thing we look at in equipment, especially driver equipment going forward.
It truly is. You know, and again, it's a lot of folks are probably listening to this going, oh, this is brand new. I've heard of carbon fiber and all this sort of technology and stuff. But yeah, it's compression happens if the face gives and is more elastic for your speed.
There's so much more to than people realize, but it's not meant to be complicated. And sometimes I get scientific on everything, when in reality, we're really in the business of fun.
Yeah.
Let's bring more enjoyment to the game for the people that play the most golf, which is the moderate to slower swing speed golfer.
Amen, my friend. And it's been a lot of fun to meet you, to have you on the
Thank you for having me on.
You know, I'm all about the show's mission always has been to introduce bright minds and bright concepts to golfers around the world. Because I was a kid in South Africa growing up. Everything I learned about the game initially was from books. And then I got to meet lots of very smart people because I have a microphone and I'm a good golf teacher. And then I remember being a young kid going, wow, I wish I could have met Butch Harmon.
Yeah.
Now people around the world can because of the show. And now people around the world who are battling with the driver off the tee have now met you. And I'm so thankful that you would reach out, because this is a very important part of the game. And like you said, the driver determines how high you score. The putter determines how low you're going to score. And I'm so thankful you would join us.
Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate you having me on, and do it again sometime.
Krankgolf.com, correct?
Yes, sir.